So welcome everyone to the dedicated Palace Q&A session for Rails member libraries. As we transition you all into using Palace, thank you for joining. We'll probably have folks coming in, so you'll probably see myself kind of pause to admit some folks into the session. Feel free to interact with one another in the chat. Today's session is I've got a few slides prepared, a few frequently asked questions that we've seen so far. We, the Palace team, have seen from Rails member libraries, but really the session is meant to be open and dedicated to you folks. So we'll have plenty of time for Q&A, so please feel free to put those in the chat or at the end, raise your hand, and if you'd like to voice your question, happy to have that as well. My name is Carissa Egan. I'm the operations director of the eBooks and Community Engagement Division, which is where Palace lives and where the project and the division is nestled in the Lyrasis not-for-profit organization, organizationally. I'm joined today by my colleague Jill Scarson, who is your dedicated partner success lead. And unfortunately, our colleague Tara Carpenter, the implementation manager that many of you have been working directly with, isn't able to join us today. So welcome. We're so glad to have you here. As I noted before I clicked the button, the session is being recorded for everybody who is registered and will be posted on our YouTube and sent out to everybody as well. So don't feel like you have to take notes or jot down URLs or any email addresses or anything like that. We'll send you all of the slides and the link to the recording once we're done. So with that, I'm going to just jump into my slides. Again, feel free to insert questions in the chat. I'll be looking and monitoring the chat. We'll answer them as we go. We'll have plenty of time at the end. Really, just anything is fair game. This is our venue to open ourselves up essentially as an office hours. So if you have any questions whatsoever, we're happy to do our best to answer them. So with that, let me share my screen and make sure I still have the chat up too. All right, got all my windows here. So welcome, it's 2026. Kind of hard to fathom and wrap your head around, but here we are. So just a quick recap of where we are and what we are. So the Rails and Palace team have been working together since November of just this past year, transitioning their e-read collection from Boundless to Palace as Baker and Taylor had announced their bankruptcy. And so for many of you, probably Palace was an entirely new thing. So just a quick recap, the Palace project is a suite of software. It's a mobile application for iOS and Android that now also works on Chromebooks. There's an administrative portal on the back end called the Palace Collection Manager, or CM, because why not add another acronym in? And we also have an optional marketplace. We're very creative with our names, Palace Marketplace, where libraries can, again, optionally purchase content. There's no requirement to buy, there's no minimum spend, there's no fees. You just pay for what you purchase. And if you have no interest in purchasing, you don't have to. We have a curated collection of public domain and open access materials, which we call the Palace Bookshelf, which is integrated into Palace for every library who's configured in Palace. And there's also a standalone library called Palace Bookshelf in the Palace mobile app for patrons across the United States whose libraries might not be participating in Palace. And then for libraries who are unautomated or have an ILS that we don't integrate with, we have a virtual library card service available as well. So that's kind of the high level 2-minute overview of the technology that comprises the Palace project when we describe it. Oftentimes we're referring to the Palace app when we say the Palace project. Current content integration. So one of the key differentiators that I know when you're new to Palace can be confusing is that Palace is an aggregator app. So unlike other ebook distributors who have their marketplace, they have their content, it's kind of a siloed infrastructure. Palace is an aggregator. So we pull in content from all sorts of different sources today and are actively working to add other integrations, not just with content sources, but discovery systems, ILS systems in the academic space, Shibboleth and SAML systems. I like to call it Shamalith because it really bothers engineers when you munge their words together. Um, and new for the Palace team, actively working to create systems that will work for K through 12 environments and schools as well. Um, so just a quick recap, lots of logos on this slide. But in Palace, you can optionally integrate your Overdrive collection, your Cloud Library collection, your Blackstone Unlimited collection, our sister projects here within the eBooks and Community Engagement division that some of you might have heard of, BibliaBoard and the Indie Author Project. In I know Illinois, it's called Inky. I believe the Indie Author Project. As I mentioned, we have our optional Palace Marketplace collection, and then we have a growing list of traditionally academic providers as well. So ProQuest, OAPEN's Open Access Collection, the University of Michigan Press's Open ebook collection. Castellini Tarosa is also another open, primarily academic collection and growing. So, as I mentioned, content and other systems. Aspen Discovery is our current discovery layer that we integrate with. We have active conversations with innovative interfaces, III, with Circe Dynex, and others to integrate directly Palace into those discovery layers as well. Okay, so just high level recap if you're completely new to Palace or a refresher is helpful. Diving into the actual nitty gritty, the details. As I mentioned, we've seen a handful of questions actually repeated from Rails member libraries that have been submitted to us that we've been answering. So we wanted to just kind of get these on slides as they might be questions that you all have also had. So I think probably the most asked question is the borrowing limits in Palace. We have gotten quite a few direct inquiries from Illinois patrons themselves. Kudos to folks in the state of Illinois. They are tenacious. They know how to find us. They know how to ask all these questions, particularly around their boundless patron accounts, their holds, their checkouts, their favorite lists, how to kind of transition their account over or migrate it over to Palace, kind of general accessing Palace questions. We've gotten questions around Kindle support with Palace, certainly questions around the K through 12 Rails eRead members, academic, very specific sample authentication questions from the academic libraries who are eRead, Rails eRead members. How do you interact with us? How do you report problems or conduct troubleshooting? And then I think finally, the other most requested is how do you, as library staff, access your usage data? So we'll cover all of that. And then, as I mentioned, we'll have plenty of time for any additional questions that weren't here in our list. So without further ado, the top, I wish I had stats, which I could if I pulled them from our support system, but that would bore you. The most frequently asked question are what are the borrowing limits in Palace? And they are exactly mirroring what you had for the eRead collection in Boundless, which is set by the Rails team, which I believe Anna Beam is on the call with us today as well. And so those are your loan duration is 2 weeks, 14 days, as it had been in Boundless. The loan limit per patron is 5, the hold limit per patron is 5, and the reservation period, meaning how many days can that reservation hang out on your shelf before you have to do something with it, before it disappears, is 2 days. And again, my understanding is that is exactly the limits that were set in Boundless. Now, that's for the Rails eRead collection. If your library decides to optionally purchase content from the Palace Marketplace, you can set the limits on the content that you buy for your library. So if you want your loan duration to be 3 weeks, the loan limit to be 10, hold limit to be infinite, you can do that. We have a lot of customization options available to us within Palace. So just to reiterate, the loan and hold limits that you see in your screen are for the Rails eRead collection. Those are set by the Rails team. Other frequent questions that we get directly from your patrons is if they can transfer their account information from Boundless to Palace. And unfortunately, we aren't able to do that. Their information about what they had checked out, what they had on hold, their favorites list, etc., doesn't transfer. We also don't have the concept of a favorite or wish list or to be read list in Palace in the app yet. It's something that we have identified as a gap in our features, and many folks have expressed interest around. So we will hope to build that in the future. We also get questions, again, primarily from patrons, but also from library staff if the Palace app works on Kindle devices. It currently does not. The Amazon hardware ecosystem is very complex. It is proprietary and locked by Amazon, unlike the iOS and Android stores, where as an app developer, you can following the parameters of that store and having a relatively stable piece of software app, you can release your app into those environments. There is no such pathway in Amazon. You have to have direct business relationship with Amazon, and they have to support actually launching and releasing that app on their devices. So we don't have that relationship with Amazon today. So that's why the Palace app is not on Kindle devices. But Palace is available, as I mentioned, on iOS and Android, phones and tablets, as well as Chromebooks, and web access to Palace. So something that is comparable to the Boundless web interface, the Overdrive web interface, the Cloud Library web interface is coming here in 2026, in the early part of 2026. We don't yet have a launch date, but our engineering team is actively working on that. So soon it will be available in a web browser as well. We have fielded a lot of questions from the K through 12 eRead, Rails eRead members. So we're just entering phase 1 of our work with K through 12s. So kind of a quick walk back in time, and by back in time, I mean by 2 months. So we signed a contract with the Rails team in late October, early November, I want to say, and started actively working to transition their public libraries and academic libraries, public, academic, and special libraries over into Palace, which we started to launch in the early part and mid part of December. Of course, then we had the December holidays. We've come back and we've transitioned our focus on K through 12s. So we're starting that phase of launching the K through 12s now. To start with, we have what we're calling a temporary solution to get all of the K through 12 Rails members access to the collection as quickly as we can. So if you're a K through 12, you'll be logging in with an assigned prefix for your school or your building, and then we will start the process of individually configuring your library later here in the spring. You should have received a message from the Rails team at the end of last week, and I have a message queued up with information about your prefix, how to get access to these 3 libraries, elementary, middle, and high school. So they're scoped based on age range, and you'll all share one of those 3 libraries. That email will be coming out tomorrow morning, I hope. If I can get the mail merge genie and I to commingle together nicely. I tested it this morning. It looked good. I just need to carve out some time to do a little bit more proofreading, and then you'll get that email. So expect that email hitting your inbox tomorrow, hopefully Friday at the latest, if you're a K through 12 Rails eRead member. And then in that email as well, but we're going to preview it here now, we have a dedicated Q&A session just for Rails K through 12 members next week, the 29th, which of course, I'm not going to know the date. Next week on the 29th is next Thursday.
It's a Thursday.
Thank you. Thank you. Don't ask me what today is, date and day of the week, because I wouldn't know. So next Thursday at 10 a.m. Central. So feel free to have questions here, but please do also plan to come into that drop-in if you're a K through 12 member. All right, let me keep my eye on the time because I can just yammer on. For those of you who might be from an academic institution, we had a couple um, issues that we worked actively in December to an early part of January to resolve. And so these are for academic institutions who have their patrons authenticate into Palace via SAML, so the kind of single sign-on interaction. So we have resolved an issue where audiobooks didn't play for Android users. Again, this was just impacting SAML libraries. We're working through session timeout issues. So we learned many of the Rails eRead academic libraries leverage Open Athens. And that has a very short, for many of those libraries, it's configured to have a very short session, which was causing some disruptions in the Palace app. So we've done some things to mitigate that now, lengthened the session in Palace, where we can, have worked with the academic libraries to lengthen it upstream in their Open Athens or with their local IT. And then are now working on optimizing the user experience in the Palace apps so that when user sessions time out in a SAML environment. And again, I'm gonna repeat myself, but I just want to make this clear. This is only for SAML, only for academic institutions. This does not impact public libraries with their ILSs. That kind of authentication path is much different technologically. But all that to say, engineering work is underway to optimize the user experience in the iOS and Android apps. So the app will just prompt you to re-sign in. And depending on your SAML settings, that might be prompting your users regularly, every few hours, every few days, to relog in when they take actions in the app. That update will be available in the next release of iOS and Android. We're working on getting the Android release out the door. We have a release candidate that's actively being tested. So I think that's actually in the approval process in the Android store right now, and iOS should be shortly following that, hopefully next week, if not by the following week. And then we had, in the interim in December, added an in-app message just to prompt users to tell them to log back in. So if you're a SAML library, academic SAML library, it's been impacted by that. Kind of the recap of where we are. Other things that we've gotten asked, kind of troubleshooting and access questions, just kind of general, where is X, Y, or Z? So all of your libraries are configured on the Illinois Collection Manager. That's il.thepalsproject.org/admin. Many of you should have received a login, an administrative login to that portal. So that's where you access your usage statistics. You can pull your inventory reports. You can see how your library is configured. You can reset your password if you go to that il.thepalsproject.org/admin site. Type in your email address because that's all of your username is your email address. And you've forgotten your password, you can reset it there. Or if you have issues logging in, just email us at support@thepalsproject.org. Assuming you can log in, you can add new users by clicking systems configuration in the top right, and then admin, and you'll be able to add new users. And we're also happy to do that for you too. So if you are a self-serve type of person, feel free to do it yourself. But if I just want someone to do this for me, feel free to shoot an email off to support@thepalsproject.org. Thanks to Jill, we have a new Discord server up and running, which connects Palace users from across the continent, the United States and Canada together. It's really great for networking and interfacing with other libraries using Palace, as well as interacting with us for non-technical support related things. So ready reference questions. Hey, where is a marketing sheet? Where is a templated press release? Where is the Palace logo? Do you have a QR code that goes to the app stores? Yes, 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 we have all those things. The Discord is a really great place for quick and easy questions like that when you want a quick response. If you have technical support questions or issues, you're getting an error in the app, etc., please reach out to support@thepalsproject.org. We also have linked here our wiki, which has written documentation, and we also have a link to our YouTube training videos. So if you're, depending on what type of learner you are, whether you're good with written and reading, or you prefer to watch to learn, we have you covered in both our wiki and our YouTube training videos. In the training videos as well on YouTube, we also have promotional how-tos that are geared toward patrons. So if you want to introduce how to use Pallas on an iOS and an Android device, we have short, I think they're 2 to 3 minute videos that are geared for end users, as well as obviously kind of the traditional librarian administering the back end of the system type videos as well. Additionally, we've gotten a lot of questions from library staff about how do you access your usage data. So the first step is going to the il.thepallasproject.org/admin. So that's your collection manager, your CM. As I mentioned, we love acronyms. And the first thing is to navigate to the dashboard. So the dashboard is linked in the top leftish of the screen once you log in. There's a few things on that dashboard. You'll see a kind of a snapshot of usage up to the minute, how many checkouts there are, how many active patrons, how many patrons with holds. And you can, within that dashboard, click for an inventory report that will be emailed to you. That inventory report has your inventory, as you might expect, for all of the content that's configured for your library. So you'll see all of the Rails eRead collection. It also gives you information about holds on that content, as well as zombie holds. If that's a new term to you, or you might call it something else, that would be holds on titles that were licensed, where the license has expired or been used up. So you can see that information as well. Finally, there's a link that will take you off into our expanded data dashboard, and that's where you can nerd out on data regarding usage of the system. So you can see things like usage of your audiobooks, usage of your ebooks. There's any number of tabs, 6 or 7, I think, available in that dashboard. It's hopefully relatively comprehensive. Within Pallas, we track all of the usage events that you would expect. So when a patron clicks to download a title, to open it and read it, every time they actually open the book, so they check it out once, but presumably they open it any number of times before they finish reading it, how many holds have been retrieved, how many holds have lapsed, i.e. sat on the shelf for those 2 days and no one has taken any action. And so we can parse all of that data anonymously, I should say. So one of the things we focus on as a Pallas team is really protecting patron privacy and anonymizing as much as we possibly can. So all of that information is in the expanded data dashboard, which is linked on the main dashboard in the collection manager. And I'll talk about this in a minute, but we're going to do a deep dive of the statistics here later this spring in our training webinar series. If you are a data nerd and you're just itching to get started, we do have a recorded webinar training session from the last time I talked about this in detail. So feel free to peruse our YouTube training for more information, and we have written documentation as well. So as I mentioned, we have an upcoming suite of training webinars, starting kind of high level and then filtering down into more detail. So Wednesday, January 28th, please join us for a 101 session, which is just an overview of the Pallas project itself, the platform, etc. We recommend this 101 session to folks who are new to the platform, potentially new hires, people who may have joined your library mid-project launch and are just coming up to speed with what Pallas is. We have a dedicated, as I mentioned, Q&A sessions for K through 12s next week as well. That'll happen on Thursday. In the webinar series, so we'll start with the 101. We'll do a deep dive in the Pallas app and the collection manager in February. In March, we'll do our deep dive into the data usage and stats. I'm the data person, so you'll hear me talk ad nauseum about stats. And then in April and May, our last 2 sessions in our 5-session training series, we'll focus on curating and promoting your collection and promoting Pallas. And then finally, talking about all of the content in the Palace ecosystem that you can optionally buy if you'd like, if that's of interest. All of these, the registrations for all of these will be linked in these slides, so feel free to join us. They'll also be open to all of our Palace partners, so it won't just be Rails members joining, it would be potentially anybody, any of our partners from across the US and Canada. And yes, I see some questions, and Jill just put it in the chat. We do have a registration link for the upcoming K-12 drop-in Q&A session. All of the headings here are hyperlinked. So yes, we'll have registrations for all of those, and we'll get those out to you in this recording and slide deck as well. And then it wouldn't be a Palace presentation without our resources slide, which has everything that I've just mentioned and more, from a direct link to our library resources page on our website, which has all of our marketing and promotional materials that you can print out and use. We can also print and ship you bookmarks, etc., if that's of interest. And a lot of the other things that I've mentioned, our Discord server, YouTube, training playlist, wiki, all of the things. I'll highlight too, Rails has a link to request titles to be added to the eRead collection, which I suspect existed before Palace. It probably existed in the Boundless days. So feel free to use that to make a request directly to the Rails team to add content to the eRead collection. And so that is all I have today in terms of the FAQs that we've seen come in directly to the Palace team. But I'll open up the floor for questions. I don't think I've seen any direct ones come in through the chat other than the link for the K-12 meeting. But I will open it up for questions. So feel free to put them in the chat if you'd like to unmute and talk to me. I definitely encourage that. That would be great. Totally understand if you're just like put it in the chat. That's totally fine too. So feel free. I've seen a few questions come in, so I will just kind of jump over and start reading and answering. So when the new releases come out, will they function like normal Android and iOS updates and prompt the user that there is a new update? Yes. I am an iOS user, so I'm not as learned on the Android platform, but yes, on iOS it should just auto update for you. I think Android is a bit different. Sometimes you have to actually go to the Google Play Store and update. But yes, the updates to the Palace app function on Apple and Android and Google devices as any other modern app does. So yes, should auto update. Is it possible to get an email when a hold is ready? So great question. Currently it is not. So this ties back to kind of the Palace ethos of protecting patron privacy. We don't actually have patrons' email addresses. We don't query that from your ILS. We get as minimal information as possible, which is just barcode and PIN if you require it, if you're a public library, in order to authenticate and validate that that's an active patron, that they have borrow permissions. I don't have any kind of blocks or fines or fees that would disable them from checking out digital materials. But we don't actually have their email address in which to email them. So holds right now, when they become available, are communicated to the patron in two ways. There's in-app hold notifications, so you get like a drop down from the top of your screen if you're in the Palace app, and there'll be a little like one icon or two or three, depending on how many holds you have. On the bottom of the app on the reservation shelf, so on the bottom of the app for both iOS and Android, you have catalog, you have your My Books or your bookshelf, you have your reservations or your holds list, and then you have your settings. So you get a little like one indicator on that hold section in the bottom of the app. And then if you've enabled push notifications on your device, you'll get a push notification when a hold is ready as well. When it's ready, and then also we do a couple expiration, like your hold's about to expire, you need to like check it out if you want it, push notifications as well. So that's what we do today, Sarah, just because we don't have email addresses for patrons. A question, how do patrons renew checkouts? So we don't currently have renew functionality. And again, that's another highly requested feature that we have identified as something that both librarians and patrons want, and hopefully we'll add to the app soon. But we don't have the means for patrons to renew items currently. And then a follow-up question, is there a way to combine catalogs if a patron is connected to more than one library? For example, they have a card with us and a card with another library where they vacation. If not, how do they switch between the different libraries? Excellent question. So the first part is no, Palace does not combine catalogs, nor does it combine your shelf or your reservations. Your shelf, meaning the titles you have checked out, and then your holds list, if you're logged into multiple libraries. But it does allow you to be logged into any number of libraries simultaneously and have ongoing checkouts and holds in all of those libraries. You switch between libraries by clicking the colorful P icon in the top left of the app when you have the app open on both iOS and Android, and that will allow you to select which library you want to actively peruse the catalog, you want to open up your bookshelf for that library, etc. And it allows you, that P icon also allows you to select other libraries. So if you have two, but you actually are a member of a third library because you're using your, I don't know, your brother's card, and he lives in California, and you want to check out content from California library on your brother's card, you can absolutely do that. Hopefully that makes sense. Let me know if anything I'm saying today doesn't make sense, and I'll try to clarify. Um, the problem with that is you need to be logged in, which is not working great for academics. So unless you log in or out every day, you'll miss your hold. That should hopefully be resolved as we're working, Sarah, on the app, recognizing that the session has expired. I'll confirm with the engineers that they're thinking about holds in particular and how that notification works when the app might not be active. But that should be something that we can actively address as the app is kind of figuring out and understanding that the kind of the session is no longer valid. Um, are there just directions somewhere about setting up push notifications on your phone, or is it really obvious? Um, Well, my my snarky response is on iOS, it's very straightforward, but Android ecosystem I get lost in. Um, so I can speak to iOS. So if you just go to your settings and then I think you just go to apps, you can find your app and then find the Palace app or any other app that you want to enable push notifications for, and you just kind of flag that it's on yes or no, or set some other parameters for particular apps. Um, I think it's slightly more, I think there's a few more steps when it comes to Android. Um, but yes, it's just your general phone rules. So nothing specific about Palace. It's just how, because I'm not an Android user, I don't know how to do that off the cuff, but it would be how you would enable push notifications for any other app on an Android device. And Palace, when you first download it, will remind you to enable push notifications on your device locally. So it'll prompt patrons if that's what they want to do, that's what they need to do. Um, Thanks, and Jill just added that. Jinx, Jill. I'm thinking the same thing. Um, Other questions from folks. These are great, so keep them coming. Again, this session is really meant for all of you. Um, any lingering questions, any kind of future roadmap questions, anything is fair game while you folks are
I
prepping
I
questions. Go
want
ahead,
to
Jill.
pipe in. I was just going to ask if you want to talk a little bit more about the renewals, because I know that this is a big departure from normal apps, and I think perhaps it might be helpful if we kind of explain why there are no renewals.
Yes. So everything, this is I guess the caveat is everything is more complicated in an aggregated environment. So not all upstream distributors enable renewals, or they don't enable them in their API the same way. And so the work to enable renewals across in a consistent way that makes sense to patrons is multiple streams of work. It's not just like one stream or another. Enable on yes or no. We would have to figure out how Overdrive sends us enables renewals through their API. We'd have to do the same for Cloud Library, which might be the one that doesn't have renewals enabled at all in their API. I'd have to double check and verify. It's been a while since I've looked at this documentation. Similarly, the Palace Marketplace renewals in the API functionality is a bit different. So in addition to just the technical underpinnings of enabling renewals, if, for instance, we have an upstream vendor that wouldn't enable them, trying to figure out in the Palace app UI how we would indicate that, why some content would be available for renewal and others wouldn't, we need to work through as well. So it's available and the UI is consistent and understandable. Donna, I see you have your hand up. Did you want to voice a question or you just want me to address the one in the chat?
No, I have a question specifically related to the renewal issue because I was dealing with a patron an hour ago.
Okay.
Um, she had a book that was due today. She
Mhm.
wanted to renew it. And so because we couldn't figure out a way to renew it, she went ahead and returned the book
Yep.
and then went back into the catalog to check it out again because it was still available.
Yep.
And when she tried to check it out, the download failed.
Yes. I assume we see that when someone does those action, those the return and the checkout within like 5 minutes of one another. Have the patron just log out, log back in, and the download like should refresh the app. Essentially gets the app in a weird state because it had it checked out and then it doesn't give the app enough time to like the book is now returned, but the app doesn't necessarily know that because it's like there's caching involved. It's annoying, I know.
Okay.
But just as part of that process, if there's no holds, that's a really great workaround. So if there's no holds on the book, the patron can return it early and then check it back out again. Just have them log out and log back in, and that kind of should reset their device, and download should work. But if it
Okay.
doesn't,
Yeah,
let me know.
yeah, because I mean she waited like an hour and tried to download it again,
Yeah.
but
Yep.
she hadn't logged out. So
Correct. Yep.
okay, and that's separate from just closing the app.
Correct. Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Sometimes refreshing the catalog will work if you do like the little pull down to refresh, but sometimes it does get into a weird state and logging out and back in is easier.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course, of course. And then I'll answer your question too, because that's the next in line. That the read online, the kind of the web browser, web catalog, web reader functionality is coming later this year. I don't have a date for when. We, we, I would say the royal we, because I'm not doing the work. The engineers, our development team, is actively working on that now, today. We're working on getting the web reader and the audiobook player as well. So it's not just reading, it's actually playing audiobooks for the collection. Um, and they are actively working for the second quarter of this year. So by July 1, we're hoping we can move that date up more. But that's kind of tentatively what we're working with from our engineering team as of today. And as soon as I have a more definitive date, I'll be sure to share that with everybody. Um, okay, I see a couple more questions, so bear with me. And notes in the chat. I have notes from a past session where I put doesn't keep place once returned. So if you don't finish, you have to renew in order to keep your place. So in Donna's scenario, would she lose her place if she checks it back out again? So I haven't had that issue on my iOS device. I actually was reading a book about Cleopatra, as a matter of fact, and I didn't get a chance to finish it over the holidays. It auto returned on its own. I checked it out again and it picked up where I left off. Um, so it should do that. But if it doesn't, let's say you're on an Android device, send in a ticket to support and let us know. And we can look into that. But it did keep my place on iOS. Now that was in a close time frame from when I originally checked it out. The app is not going to keep your place if you checked out that book and then a year later you check it out again, for sure. But I would think in a shorter span of time it should. And I've had that it worked on my iOS device. Okay, another another chat coming through. I don't know if this is a question, maybe more of a suggestion, but are there any plans to change how books are shown to the user when browsing the app? What I mean is how you have to go into a specific genre of fiction in order to see a list of audiobooks where sometimes a patron might not know what genre they want. They just want to see all the books available. So, yes, that's an excellent suggestion, observation, feedback. So we have a whole list of work that we're prioritizing for the Rails team to support K through 12s. And after that work is complete, the partner success team, so myself and Jill and our colleague Tara, who isn't here, have been proactively and actively speaking with our engineers about how we improve the search and the kind of faceting and filtering interface in the catalog. So it's much easier for users to browse and then kind of browse and then either facet on those browse options or kind of filter down more easily. So yes, we know, I guess that's a known concern that we all have, that browsing and then specifically searching in the app could be much more robust than it is now. I would say currently in the app that's definitely one of our kind of more simplistic areas of functionality that we know we can definitely augment.
Yeah, and there are certain facets available from the catalog page where you can, if you are just browsing and kind of looking through those lanes, you can limit down to audiobooks. One of the things, though, is you can't just search for all audiobooks. That is something that we'll be hopefully adding and mimicking the browse and search functionalities, trying to kind of get to the point where there's a little bit of consistency between the two. We've also requested search faceting for publication date, for language, I believe for audience, genre, all the fun things. So that is forthcoming. And I know that some of this work has already been done, but with everything else we've had going on, we've had to shift kind of our priorities to make sure that we could get everyone launched and also support our new K-12 libraries that are coming on soon. So very tiny team, but this is definitely something that we're very thoughtful of. We're the team that works with outward-facing clients, including libraries and patrons, so user experience is top of mind always.
And then a really great question from Donna, if you can have more than one copy checked out at a time of the same book. So if there are multiple catalog listings and there are no waiting holds, could you check out a second copy before the first one auto returns? Um, my answer to this is going to be complicated, so apologies in advance. The answer to that is yes and no. So in Palace, because Palace is an aggregator app, you will see the same title listed potentially a couple of different times if it's coming from different upstream sources. So let's say your Smith library, and you have your Overdrive collection configured and you are part of the Rails eRead collection. And both of those collections have Becoming by Michelle Obama. You could have both of those checked out simultaneously on your shelf. You could have one on hold, you could have both on hold and be in different holds queues for those titles. If they were both available, you could have one checked out and then search in the catalog. Let's see, let's say you have the Overdrive copy checked out, and then you go into the catalog, you see, oh, the Palace Marketplace title is available. If your Overdrive copy was coming due, you could check out the Palace Marketplace title if that Overdrive copy had multiple holds behind you. So yes, it's a fantastic, clever workaround. It's something that I think we've probably, I suspect that many patrons in states where there is the local library is configured and their Overdrive or their consortial Overdrive is configured, but the state is supplementing with a sizable collection or a local larger consortia. I'm sure we have patrons who are doing that jockeying all the time. I think we've seen this in Georgia in particular from some patron questions that have come in. So excellent question, Donna. I guess the no part is if, let's say, Rails has 5 copies of Becoming in their collection, it's all coming from the same place. The patron isn't going to see all 5 of those copies and be able to like do different things because they're all coming from the same place. But if they're coming from different places, yes, patrons can definitely kind of jockey which copy they're interacting with.
Yeah, the short answer here is if they see multiple copies or multiple covers in the app of the same ebook or audiobook, chances are they're coming from different feeds of information or different vendors. So if it's in there and they're both available, they're welcome to try.
Yes, yeah. One of the powerful things with being an aggregator. Ted asks a great question. Is deep linking into the app coming with the web interface, or is that later down the roadmap? So we won't have explicit deep links that you can embed elsewhere, but when you check out a title from the web catalog, it will go on your shelf and you will be able to open it in the Palace app. So hopefully that answers your question, Ted. Actual dedicated URLs that you could like send in an email that would then kind of open in the app will be coming down on the roadmap. But if you're actively checking stuff out through the web catalog, it will and are logged in. You'd have to, in order to check something out, you have to be logged in. It will go on your shelf in Palace. Um, all right. When selecting only audiobooks at the top before searching, why does the app show ebooks if the search title is not available as an audiobook? So that filter at the top where it's all ebooks, audiobooks only applies to browsing. It doesn't apply, as Jill was just mentioning, in search. So when you do a search, there's no kind of it's not respecting what you had clicked on in that kind of main catalog screen, unfortunately. So that was what she was mentioning. We're actively working with our engineering team once we get through kind of the first significant work for the Rails K through 12 support.
That's the hope. It's a long time coming, guys. We're fighting for you.
And then another question, does Progress sync across devices if you have the app installed in both a phone and a tablet? It does. You have to enable synchronization in like on the settings screen under like where you log in. You can synchronize across devices, phone and tablet, two different phones, iOS and Android. Your titles will sync, and so will your reading position as well as your bookmarks will sync. The only thing that doesn't sync is if your library has Overdrive content enabled and your patron is using Libby and Palace, the Libby and Palace app don't synchronize reading position. So if you're reading the same book in both apps, unfortunately, the two apps don't talk to one another. But the Palace app to the Palace app on different devices, yes, should synchronize. And yes, we are working on a way to filter and facet searches in the future. High priority item for us, but we've got to get through supporting Rails K through 12s first. And I see you have your hand raised. Feel free.
Yeah, I didn't
Jump
want to
in.
type this one, sorry. And I apologize ahead of time because I haven't tried this since like December at the last session I attended. But I was messing around with lanes and I might just need to put a ticket in for this, but there's a world languages lane, like, and so I
Yeah.
tried to make a Spanish lane, and the world languages in our instance it has 3,634, and the Spanish one has 3,634. So that tells me that Spanish is the only language there.
Mhm.
So I wanted to get rid of the world languages title and just make it what it is and just have Spanish. So do I have to like turn off that lane and then just make my own Spanish lane? Is that the solution to that? Because I can't hide. I made a sublane under world languages, thinking there was going to be more than just Spanish.
Mhm.
Um, and I can't make that invisible.
And which
Yes.
library are you with?
Olivet Nazarene University. I don't want to take up everybody's time too if there's more questions, but
Well, you're in luck. I don't see anything in the chat. Jill, did you freeze? Are you still there?
I'm still here. I'm just
Okay.
pulling it up.
I was gonna say, Jill is our listed lane guru. We can absolutely help you with that. I think there's a couple ways that we can adjust it so you only see Espanol at the bottom. The only thing I would say about hiding that auto-generated world languages is that um, if you did in the future think that you would be sourcing content in another language, or because you're an academic, we can pull in, we haven't gotten to the stage yet, but the exciting thing about Palace is we can pull in any of the open access collections, like I mentioned, from the University of Michigan, if that's of interest, or in the future, if you have a ProQuest collection. We just started working with Taylor and Francis, and we have active conversations with EBSCO. But if you ever get to a point where you want to pull in some of your academic content and there are other languages, we'd have to like re-enable that lane so that we could put the other world languages under there, or we'd have to talk to you if you wanted dedicated generated languages for those other languages in your collections, kind of future thinking. But yes, we can absolutely help you. Jill is a guru when it comes to list and lanes to get it how you want it to appear in the app.
And good news, I just changed the name for you because you can actually edit the name of the auto-generated lane. So for now, because you only have Spanish, it says Espanol. You can delete that sublane. However, again, if at any time you have additional languages that you know are in that collection, let us know because we can enable it and it should auto-generate the language underneath for
Okay.
you. We would
Okay,
just need to
so
enable it.
if I want to do a special lane like for our children's lit class, like I
Mhm.
should just get in touch with you and you can help me.
Yeah, I can. We're actually going to do part of that customizing, curating your collection session in April. Did we schedule it in April? We'll
Eighth.
talk about the April 8th. We'll be talking about some of the curation that our team has been doing with shared listen lanes, but I can actually show you how to do any of those things. So we
Awesome.
do
Thank
have some
you.
training videos, but I'll drop my email in the chat because I'm always happy to meet to talk through these things because sometimes it's just easier to see it. But yeah, no, there's a lot of flexibility in there. Um, I just don't know to what full extent any additional languages are in the Rails collection because I haven't putzed around with it too terribly much. But again, if you want to keep that sublane in there, it's just going to say Espanol. It'll say Espanol again. If you want to take it out, you can. And if you add like Mandarin, just let us know and we can enable it so that it auto generates a sublane of all your Mandarin content.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what this session is for. Feel free others to jump in. And again, don't worry, Anne and others, if you have a very specific question about your installation or what you want to do in the future. I think these questions, even they might be very specific to what you want to do, apply more broadly to the rest of the team if they'd like to consider that or hadn't even considered it all. So please feel free to jump in with those types of questions. We have about 5 minutes left. I didn't see any other questions. Oh, another question. Excellent. No dumb questions. No dumb questions. Um, you can't see where to go to log out of the app. That is not a dumb question because we've gotten that a couple different times too. So, in the bottom left is settings. And then once you click on settings, whether you're on an iOS or an Android device, at the top will be the word libraries. If you click there, you'll see the next page, which gives you the list of all of the libraries that you've selected and presumably logged into, though you can have one selected that you weren't logged into. Click on whatever library you would like to log out of. So our test library, which you will see in the app if you search for it, is Main Street City Library. So that's our kind of Lyrasis team library. But whatever, click on the name of the library, and then it'll pop up the sign in, sign out screen. So if you're signed in, you'll see your barcode, and if you have pins at your library, not all libraries do, you'll see just little dots for privacy, and then there'll be a sign out button. So not a stupid question. We've gotten that before. I pass that along to our UI folks. That's like, oh, some people don't even know how to navigate to log out. It's not obvious. So something we'll certainly be looking into how to make that more obvious.
I can tell you our UI UX designer is itching to make this change, but it requires some development work. So it will happen and it'll be easier for patrons to figure out how to log in and log out at some point.
And Nathan gave Sadie, the Palace patron kitty saint, a shout out. It would not be a Palace call if Sadie was not there with Jill. Usually haranguing her for food, as most cats do. We did not hear her voice today, surprisingly, but she's always with us. All right. Any last minute questions? Otherwise, we'll let folks go. and we'll work on getting this recording out to you. A last minute question that came in. Will patrons be able to enable charge history? I'm not sure I know what charge, if you mean their checkout history, we don't currently have patron history accessible or logged in the app or even in things that we can administer for patron privacy reasons. I think it's all tied into patron privacy and how do we enable kind of wish lists and keeping patron history a in a savvy but not compromising patron and anonymity in security way. So in the future, likely we'll add that because we get that asked of us a lot. But currently, you don't see patrons don't have a way to see their history or have like a wish list functionality. Yeah.
We've already started some of the work that would allow us to do that at some point. Our engineers have developed a way of anonymizing users, but they are still kind of logged as unique users.
Right.
So we can affiliate that unique user that's been anonymized with that person's account, and we'll never know anything, but they would be able to see it. It's just a lot of back end work that I don't really know how it happens. They just do the magic, but we hear you, Sharon, and it's definitely something that would be coming down the line. So the start of that work is there, and I think with anything, it's a matter of meeting the needs of your users, the patrons, all the while kind of really diving into what the core values are of Palace, and one of those being patron privacy.
All right. Well, thank you for joining, Sharon. You'll get a full recording for the first parts that you missed, as well as anybody who wasn't able to join us. If there aren't any other questions coming in, we'll adjourn for the day. Hope
Can I
this
just
was
hop
helpful.
in for a
Yeah.
quick second? Sorry.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. It's Anna Beam, your e-content specialist from Rails. I just wanted to thank everybody for showing up today, but also thank you to the Palace team. We've been working with them for a couple of months. They've done an incredible amount of development work for Rails libraries, and that work continues. So what they're talking about is absolutely, true, and the work continues, but it's been really, really fantastic working with them for the last couple of months, and it's been a great home for the eRead Illinois program. So I just wanted to shout out you guys. Thank you so much.
Well, likewise, Anna. You guys
Thank
have
you so
a
much.
great team in Anna and Layla looking out for this project. And I think for all of us on the Palace side, like these apps only work if you have people that are really passionate about the work that you do. So we're really excited to be working with Rails and all of you as part of eRead Illinois. It's been great getting to know you guys and what your community needs are as we kind of learn and grow.
And Anne, I see you have your hand raised, I think.
No, sorry.
Oh,
You
okay.
said the wrong things.
I was like, last word goes to Anne.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. All right. Thank you all. We will adjourn for the day, and we'll see you hopefully on one of our upcoming webinars. Don't be strangers. Feel free to reach out to Jill if you have List Lane questions or any other kind of partner success related questions. Join our Discord, not discard, Discord server. And then technical support, please don't hesitate to reach out to support@thepalaceproject.org. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you on our next webinar.